Okay, so this is the last video with the last like 9 problems of this test on it. We're going to start with number 46, and it says, what are the x-intercepts of the graph of this? Well, this one's like awesome because it's totally just asking for you to look at the picture, and you have a calculator, so just graph that parabola and take a look at it. And whenever you look at it, it's going to be kind of hard to read. I remember thinking that it was skinny when I looked at it, and it was kind of hard to see like what was happening. It kind of looked like that. So here's the deal. If you don't know what's happening here and that these are hard to choose from, just zoom in on this area here. Zoom in. And so that's it. If you hit the zoom button, there's a choice that says in. And so you'll hit zoom in, and then you'll move the little cursor thingy to this area, make sure it's right in here, and then you'll hit enter, and it'll help you zoom. And when you zoom, you will be able to clearly see that this is the best choice out of all the ones listed. Okay, number 47, we've got a weights, and this is asking about how much the bar weighs. So what I would do is just look at, this is counting up by 2 plates at a time. So how much weight is added for every 2 plates? Well, if you subtract these two numbers, you get 70, which means that if 2 plates weigh 70, then 1 plate, okay, weighs how much? 1 plate weighs 35 pounds, okay? So this asks how much the bar weighs without anything, okay? And what I would do is be careful. If it had asked me for plates, this would be my answer, but it doesn't say plates. It says how much does the bar weigh. So I need to take off 2 more plates, which means I need to subtract 70 to get back to the beginning. So when you do 115 minus 70, you get 35. Or is that 45? Let me make sure. 5, 11, that's a 4, sorry, haha. So actually the answer choice is C on this one. Okay, 48. I hope nobody misses this on the test. Range, is it X or is it Y? It's Y. Which of these circles is the same as Y? This one over here. I mean, that's X, that's got to be Y. So what are these numbers? Right there, and you are finished. That's an easy one, I hope. Number 49, which set of ordered pairs contains only points that are on the graph of the function y equals 12 minus 3x? Okay, so there's a lot of different ways to do it. I would go ahead and type this into y1, and then I would just go to my table, okay? Because even though the points are listed out sideways, it's the same as the table. These are all of your x's, and these numbers are all of your y's. So you're just looking on your table to see which ones match. And as you scroll up and down, you use your arrows up and down on the table and match them up. I think that was the one that matched. Okay, number 50. Which inequality can be represented by the graph? This, I think, is the hardest one on here, okay, because these equations don't even have numbers, and I know you don't like that. So there's a b, 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 b. This b is the same as this point right here, okay? So what I would do is just isolate the y, if it's not already done, and meaning, you know, move the other stuff around the inequality. And if you isolate the y, then we can compare to mx plus b, because the m is your slope, the b is that point right there, and we can make sure that things match, okay? So let's just try f, okay? So this says y is greater than x plus b. Well, plus b would mean the graph has to start at b, which it does. And the invisible number in front of this x is the m. And if there's no number, then the invisible number is 1. So the slope would be 1 over 1. So that would mean up 1 and to the right 1. So is this going up 1 to the right 1, up 1 to the right 1? Yes, this works and this works. So now we just have to check this symbol. This says greater than or equal to. Now remember, with the line underneath, it means you need to see a solid, which I do see a solid. And then greater than means you need to shave above the graph. So it looks like F is my answer, and I won't have to do any work with any of those. Okay, 51. Y'all were really good at this when we did it in class, so let's see how much you still remember. Numbers are numbers. You just reduce this like a normal fraction, and 12 over 3 is the same as 4 over 1. So right off the bat, those are gone, okay? Now we do our rules of exponents. If you have an exponent over an exponent, we learned in class that you subtract those. So 6 minus 2 is 4. So I better see an x to the 4th in the answer, and I'm done. I can stop right there because that one's already eliminated itself. Okay, if y equals blah blah, what is the value of x when y is not negative 9? Well, it is literally telling you to take this equation and in the place of y, write a negative 9. And what you're supposed to do is figure out which of these x's work. So you can take these and plug them in with the calculator to see which one works. You can, there's all kinds of stuff that you can do. I would probably just start plugging these in and seeing which ones work. Or you could just solve for x. So that would mean add 2 to both sides. So we're trying to isolate the x, okay? So add 2 to both sides, so that's a negative 7 equals negative 4/5 x, okay? Now, to get a number off the x, you do the opposite of what you see. So right now, these are multiplied, so I would divide both sides by negative 4/5. If you're doing this in the calculator, be very, very careful, okay? You would need to do the alpha button thing, the alpha y equals enter, and type that on top and type that on bottom. And what's going to end up happening is that it's going to be 35 over 4 is what it should end up being. Ask me if you need help getting through the end of that one. And then 53, which expression is equivalent to this? Okay, so remember, anytime you have these two parentheses and you're like, oh my gosh, what do I need to do? Okay, this is where you FOIL. So you take your answer choices and you start multiplying them, and then you see if it's equal to that. So there's a negative 6x squared in the front, okay? And that front term comes from the F of FOIL. And the F of FOIL stands for first. So I'm going to take the first two terms and multiply and make sure I get a negative 6x squared. If I don't, I'm going to cross it off and move on to the next. So 3 times 3x is a 9x squared. That is gone. I see that same thing again. 3x times 3x, that's not even possible. So it's either B or D, okay? So then what you could do is the O and the I stand for the outside and the inside, and that stands for the last, okay? So what I would do is, like, let's just say that we try our B, okay? So first times first would be negative 6x squared, which is a match, okay? Now let's do our outer, okay? The outer comes from the two outside terms. So a negative 3x times a negative 1 is a plus 3x. The inside is the inside of both parentheses. So a 4 times a 2x is an 8x. And then the L stands for last, so it's the last two things, okay? So the 4 times the negative 1 is a negative 4. Now, this number in the middle comes from putting the two middle terms together. So when we bring these two down, we have a positive 11x. This problem has a negative 11x, guys, which means it is wrong and D must be the right answer. And if you multiply that out, if you FOIL it out, you will get that it is correct. Okay, 54. If the graph of this, y equals 9x plus 4, is translated up 4 units, which equation would work? Well, this is just calculator. Look at this in the calculator and then start typing these in, and you will see which one has been shifted up. Some of you might also remember that if you ever want to move a graph up or down, all you have to do is play with the number in the back. So if I want to go 4 up from 4, then I'm going to a plus 8. I don't change the slope at all. I'm not trying to make it steeper. I'm just trying to make it go up. So I just have to adjust that. So either know that rule or just look at all of them in the calculator. Okay, that is it. That's the end of the test. And Hopefully you guys will keep rewatching these videos until you feel confident before the test on Wednesday.